What is happening, people? It is Guillermo from Hay Arquero, back with another episode 21. Lots to talk about today. We got a really good question of the day. We're going to be going over the Mexico Honduras game. We literally just watched it.
Yeah.
It's 10:21. The game ended at 10 p.m. Central Time. We just watched this game. So we'll be going into that game in-depth analysis. We're talking about CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers and some MLS and Liga MX playoff action. But without further ado, I'm joined by my co-hosts here, Vicente and Jordy. How y'all doing?
Doing good, can't complain. Especially as a Honduran right now, there's not much to complain about.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. So I'm glad to be back here. And
Yeah.
let's just talk a little bit of football. But I know you have a question before we head into the big talk about the game.
Yeah, for sure. A question before we get into the big talk, and it's actually a pretty good question, a pretty big question. So those of you who don't know, the CONCACAF Nations League, this is a new tournament that got announced back in late 2017. The first ever tournament was actually played in that 2019-2020 season. And my question to you guys is this. Do you think that like these new like international tournaments are a good idea? Do you think there should be more? Do you think like this new edition is enough? Do you think they should like I don't know mix in with other confederations and stuff like that? But let me I want to hear y'all's thought on something like just expanding more international tournaments or if not.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard about the new Copa Oro next year. Of some of the teams that are getting invited. Apparently, they're inviting teams from Asia, a couple teams from Europe, a couple teams from CONMEBOL, and I really like the idea. I like the idea of seeing what realistically what kind of level CONCACAF is in because we play against each other so much. We have a Copa Oro every other year. Now we have this Nations League where everyone plays. You have League A, League B, League C. All the nations play. So I think it's a great idea to incorporate some of these new countries. So next year, like we'll really be able to see the level that CONCACAF has to offer, especially before the World Cup, right? Because we have three host nations, all CONCACAF. So this will be a good test for them to see what level they're at and what they need to improve.
Yeah, I'll say I like the tournaments, but I feel like they gotta mix up the conferences and they gotta just like integrate, like European countries with,
Yeah.
Latin American countries and so on. Because if you look at the UEFA Nations League, it's almost like every single match day is the same. Like you always have Spain against the same team, Portugal against the same team over and over again. It gets a little bit tiring. And in CONCACAF, it's almost the same. Like you always get the Honduras Mexico game. It's always good to watch. The U.S. Jamaica, Costa Rica is always in there. So if they could like switch them and just invite teams from different parts of the world, CONMEBOL as well. Like I think it would just create a better environment that at the end of the day, this is all preparation for the big stage, which is the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I just like I understand why they make these new like league formats like with the nations and stuff like that, but we already like have you guys been saying that we're already playing against the same opponents in the cups and the Euro Cups they play obviously those opponents in the CONCACAF etc. But I would like to see more integration and more like mixing up with the confederations, but with that league format because obviously we're used to seeing something like the World Cup and then like when other teams get invited into like the Gold Cup or Copa America and stuff like that. But I feel like it would be very interesting to like put teams out of their like comfort zone in a league format. I feel like that would be something I don't know exciting to watch, but at the same time that's already like too much to ask for, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, logistically, it's obviously difficult to have these teams from different continents come to play or us go over there to play, especially in a league format. I feel like obviously in a friendly setting, it's different, like an international break where you have a friendly. But yeah, it definitely would be interesting to see because, like I said, we're hosting a World Cup. These teams are going to come over and play here in 2026. So we definitely need to start playing against more of these European and South American teams to, see what level these teams are really at.
And do you guys believe like the Nations League takes a little bit of value from Copa Oro because you play so much? Do you guys think that it loses a little bit of worth? When you win Copa Oro, you're like okay, but in a couple months I'm gonna be playing the same opponent once again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
definitely.
mean,
Oh, go ahead, Guillermo.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I wouldn't say it like makes it lose value because I don't think it makes it lose value. Like I still think Copa Oro is Copa Oro, but it definitely, how can I say it? Like I feel like the stakes are not the same. If that makes any sense. Like if you don't win in Copa Oro, you have a chance at winning at Nations League. So I feel like teams are not like there isn't that like, um, I don't know, maybe that intensity that there once was. I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say that like it does get a bit repetitive because, like, let's be real here. Outside of Mexico and U.S., there's no really real competition. I want to say in terms of that Gold Cup final, it seems like it's always one of those two that are gonna win it every time. And I understand that Canada is a good team, Jamaica's a good team, Honduras is a good team, but like when it comes to Gold Cup, it's really always U.S. and Mexico, and that's just the reality. So like I don't know. It's a bit complicated, but Nations League, I do like how they incorporated the Copa America spots last year with Nations League, and I think if we can see more things like that, where you have spots on the line in these tournaments, and these teams may, you know, not try harder because obviously they're trying their best, but maybe it would be more entertaining for fans because you have more on the line. There's more at stake.
Yeah, for sure. And today, I mean, it wasn't Mexico USA, it was Mexico Honduras.
Yeah,
And we were talking a little bit about the match before the match, and we said in the group chat, everybody send
prediction.
your predictions. And I said 3-1 Mexico. I have never been more wrong in my entire life. But
Yeah,
Jordy, if you want to go ahead and kick us off?
yeah, sure. So I had 1-1. If I would have signed the draw, I mean, a very boring first half. If we're being completely honest, Honduras pressuring high of the first couple of minutes, and then they sat back a little bit deep for the rest of the first half. It seemed like a midfield battle. Neither team really had a crazy chance in that first half. But then the substitution in the second half for Honduras, we saw Luis Palma, the Celtic man, come on and score that brace. A crazy mistake from Cesar Montes on that first goal. The insane mistake. Rookie mistake. Awful mistake from him. Not much Ochoa can do on the rebound. But on the second goal, I don't know. I mean, the shot, he placed it well, but I feel like Ochoa could maybe do better there on that second shot, on that second goal. But yeah, great result for Honduras. And at the end, we saw Aguirre bleeding, and I feel like a suspension is coming. I feel like a suspension is coming because that's unacceptable. You can't have that. You can't have managers coming out of the game bleeding or anything like that. And I do feel like Honduras is going to get a lengthy suspension here where they play home games without fans.
Yeah, and it was happening throughout the entire match. Everybody was
Yeah.
just throwing stuff into the field. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
just constantly happening. But I mean, I think the
Yeah,
the
you.
second Honduras goal was pretty good. I mean, I feel like there was a lot to be left done from the defenders. There was like they just give
Yeah.
him so much space, and he was able to simply apply accuracy in that ball and put it in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you could see there were points in the game where you could even see Honduras bench like just waving at the fans and saying like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Like,
don't
hey,
throw
like,
any more
chill.
stuff,"
Mm-hmm.
because it was yeah, because it was so obvious that they were just like aiming for all of Mexico's like heads. Well, talking about Honduras, I love their structure throughout the match. Like that's like you said, Jordy, they pressured high at the beginning and then just sat back. They did a great job because Mexico wasn't able to penetrate in any kind of side of the pitch, and they were just moving those lines like a unit. Like if when they shifted left, everyone would just go left, so on, and it worked pretty well. I think Honduras played a really good defensive game at Mexico because they felt the pressure to go forward and score and create something, especially under this new system with Javier Aguirre and Rafa Marquez, where you want to have the ball, you want to create chances. They wanted to have more and more of the ball, attack more and more, and that just created space for Honduras to take care of their chances, and they did. So
Yeah.
I think they have a good solid lead, but when you go to Mexico, anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure. And the first goal comes from when Mexico looked their best, in my opinion, in the match. Honduras prior to that goal had only had one shot on target, and that whole first 15 minutes of the second half was all Mexico. Raul was getting like a couple of looks. Quiñones was getting a couple of looks. But Yeah, I mean that first goal changes the whole game completely, and not only did Luis Palma come on and change the game, but also Justin Arboleda, who is actually born in Colombia, and I know we've talked in the past a little bit about players having that nationality change, and this is the first time that we see it in Honduras outside of a goalkeeper, because we had a Argentinian goalkeeper Ruyer in the past, but this is the first time we see someone who was not born in Honduras step on the field for us, outside of the goalkeeper position, and he came on and he looked great. So yeah, I think he deserves the start in the second leg. Him and Luis Palma. I hope to see them to start in the Nemesio 10.
So
Yeah.
Guillermo, what are some of your thoughts on the game, the first half, the second half, the game plan, the structure, Memo Chong goal. Just want to hear from you, man.
So I love how you said Memo Choango. I'll go into Memo Choango first. When the game was starting, I saw the team sheet and I was like, okay. So we're playing Memo Choa. Last time I spoke about Memo Choa on the podcast, I was saying how Javier Aguirre had brought him on because he wanted him, or Memo wanted to fight for that spot. So I thought that this was just a game that he said, okay, I'm gonna play you so you can, like, I don't know, quit complaining, just basically trying to entertain Memo Ochoa. He starts playing, and for a split second, I'm even thinking, hey, I think Memo Ochoa's experience at the back is actually doing something for us here. And there were times when that was actually the case. Mexico was very frustrated basically the entire game because, they were trying to go up and they had this plan, they had this style of play that required these combination of players doing simple passes, but they couldn't connect. It looked like these players were not just not connecting. Didn't have any chemistry. It looks like they hadn't been playing before. But there were instances where Memo Ochoa calmed them down, slowed down the pace of the play, brought back the ball, and waited for the team to reset. So that was good from him. But at the same time, we just can't keep starting Memo Ochoa. We just can't keep putting him up front, like, or not up front, but him up front in terms of the goalkeeper race. Like I said earlier, that I think that this was Javier Aguirre entertaining Memo and the idea of bringing him, and I really hope that that's the case because I wouldn't want to see him again playing. I think that for a leadership role and a locker room role, he would be phenomenal, but not on the field. I think we have more goalkeepers that should get those chances and need that experience that we so desperately need at the keeper position. So going a little bit on what I was saying earlier, there was one specific player that I think is very important to this team, but he's been letting me down time after time, and that player is Edson Alvarez because I love Edson Alvarez. He's a great player in the Premier League. He does things very well, but when he plays for La Selección, he bites off more than he could chew, and that's as simple as I can put it. He tries to take on this role that he is not capable of. He if he just sticks to his plan and doesn't try to take on more than he should, that he will have just a way better game in just so many different situations. He kept on second guessing himself and just losing the ball. Cesar Montes in that first goal, that's completely out of character. He's got experience.
Yeah.
He in Russia. It was just unfortunate, a bad touch, and I mean, good on Honduras for being able to capitalize on that because Mexico had so many chances and we just weren't able to capitalize, especially in that final third. Quiñones kept on losing the ball. I don't know how he keeps on sneaking into the starting lineup, but Cesar Huerta did pretty good, but he overstayed his welcome on the field, I would say. I think he needed to get subbed off sooner, and he just never got subbed off. But, I mean, looking at the bench, we have some pretty decent, substitutes that he didn't use in Diego Lainez. He would have been pretty good in cutting in and just disrupting in the box because that's something that we just desperately needed. Every time we would get in the box, they would try to make an extra pass and nobody would be there. They wouldn't be able to connect, and our best shots were literally pop offs that individual players had. Quinones hit the bar because of
Yeah.
a save. Jimenez hit like a 180 volley. Like these are not chances that are made because of our connections. these are chances that are made because of luck and individual, performance. So overall, it's just a bad performance from Mexico, and honestly, very devastating and just extremely disappointed overall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Honduras.
early in the game.
Oh, go ahead, Vicente.
So yeah, I was just gonna say that early in the game, I really liked the movements that Orbelin Pineda showed. Play kind of as a 10 right behind Raúl Jiménez, and I wanted to ask you, why, we didn't even see Martin in Henry Martin in the bench. Like he was not even part of the squad, and that was kind of like a decision that just shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, they I believe they left him and like Osiel Herrera and I believe two more players. They left them back and they didn't even bring him on the bench. And Martin and Henry Martin could have been an option. They subbed on Memo Martinez and he did okay, but right now the striker position, we were talking about Raul Jimenez and his form if he can keep it up. And unfortunately, we saw glimpses of it in this match, but the whole team didn't click. And at that point, it can't be left up to one man.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, we saw the similar situation with Santi Jimenez where it's really hard to blame the striker when they're not getting the delivery to be able to, do anything. But I mean, Honduras is now, or not now, but they were already the second team in CONCACAF with the most wins against Mexico after USA. Honduras is the second with the most wins, but only like in Honduras. They've won in Mexico once before in the Azteca, but in Mexico we seem to struggle. So it's going to be tough on Tuesday. I mean, if Mexico gets a goal early, then it's all to play for. So it'll be interesting for sure.
I'm thinking about a year before Jordy, you mentioned, that we have already seen what happened before we started the show. Um, Heading into this game now, what corrections would you make and how would you start the game? Because obviously you don't want to start the game and sit back immediately
Yeah.
because if they score early, then the whole game in the table is turned. But what corrections would you make from a year ago?
Yeah, definitely the time wasting because I mean it was just ridiculous last year when Edson Alvarez scored the winner in like the 90th plus 11, or it was like the 101st minute Edson Alvarez got the winner. But just like you said, just that not going into Mexico with this mentality that we have to park it, we have to sit back, we have to sit deep, and we have to make subs every 2 minutes, waste as much of the clock as we can. Just go in and play with the same intensity that you played at home. Start Luis Palma this time. Start Arboleda at the 9 this time so that he can win those headers. He's really tall. He's like 6'2" or something like that. He's ridiculously tall. And yeah, just try and work some counters and get that third goal that could probably seal the game.
Yeah, for you, Guillermo, though, are they gonna play the Azteca or are they going somewhere else?
They're playing in Toluca.
Yeah.
Toluca, okay. So going into Toluca, you know, how would you like? What corrections would you make based on the starting 11? Would you change the style, like the formation? Because it was kind of like a 4-2-3-1 that changed to like a three something, like based on when you guys had the ball. But what corrections would you make?
I would I would I would stick with the 4-2-3-1. I do think that when we played at our best, that's the formation we were going with. Not in this specific game, but just under Javier Aguirre. And I would definitely start Luis Romo over Luis Chavez.
Yeah.
And I would like to see just more. I would like to see another goalkeeper to include that as well, and then more rotation on the wingers because we've seen Cesar Huerta and we've seen Quiñones multiple times. I need to see, I don't know, like Osiel Herrera. I need to see Diego Lainez. I need to see Alexis Vega. I need to see even Ángel Sepúlveda. Yeah, he's 33 years old, but he's playing his absolute heart out right now with Cruz Azul. So that's he got subbed in later in the game, but Javier Aguirre is really on about the player's moment, and right now Sepulveda is a player with a good moment, and the winger is in a position that we have solidified. So I would just say that, yeah, more rotation on the wings, and I would love to see Luis Romo start because every time he plays under the Javier Aguirre system, he has just honestly prospered. And my hats off to him. He's one player that I never expected him to prosper in this system.
So say we go a week from now and Honduras takes care of business. Where does this Mexico team go and does it sit with Javier Aguirre and Rafa Marquez? Because obviously they're not gonna get sacked. We know that. Like I'm not even asking that question. I'm just asking like where do you sit and is it more of a the player's fault, coaching's fault, everyone's fault? Like where does it land?
I want to say that like, man, that's a tough one because like you said, they're never gonna fire him. It is just simply too late, and like with the whole thing with Rafa Marquez, they're just never gonna fire him. But I would say maybe like the players, man, will or because the game plan has worked before, but today, quite frankly, like I said, the players were simply not connecting. They need to because I'm not gonna say it's a player's fault, but maybe like team sheet, like maybe players that have played together or with like similar play styles or have played together in different teams as well. Because I mean, I understand that he's still trying to figure out his best 11, but this is honestly not the time to do it. So I would say like I don't know, prioritize these friendlies and really try to figure something out because I mean the World Cup is literally right around the corner. Not to mention the tournament that we have next summer. So
Yeah, and as we wrap, this Honduras Mexico talk, Jordy, now like looking at this Honduras side, let's say you do take care of business, where does this Honduras team can go? Like where do you see this Honduras team going?
Yeah, listen, with the new World Cup system, like there's no excuse to not qualify. I'm sorry, there's zero excuse to not qualify. Seeing how well we can do at home with the fans, with the hostile environment, obviously very unfortunate about the projectiles being thrown, and I hope we can address that and be better as fans in general. But apart from that, seeing like how the fans show up and how good we are at home. I would love to see us make this World Cup without a problem. Obviously, Panama will be our biggest rival because I think they're probably the third best team in CONCACAF right now. They're really good. They have the best midfielder in CONCACAF, in my opinion, Carrasquilla. Really good team. But I would love to see us make the World Cup, man. There's no excuse. No U.S., no Mexico, no Canada. You have additional spots now. And, last World Cup qualifier, we did not win a single game at home. Not one game at home. As a matter of fact, the whole qualifier, we didn't win a single game. So I hope that El Profe Rueda can really motivate these guys to continue to play like this at home, but also try and get results away from home and make the World Cup in 2026. That's the main goal.
well, that is going to be a conversation that we won't be simply closing the book here because the second leg
Yep.
will be played in Toluca, and so stay tuned for that as we will be going over it as well. But for now, what we're gonna be talking about are the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. There was, I mean, some
It's
important
crazy.
matches yesterday. There's some crazy matches today with some really excited endings. I mean, Uruguay, Colombia. I mean, those last 10 minutes were just that's just straight football. That's the reason why we fell in love with this game in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so funny to watch this game because um like first of all the first goal comes out of a Quintero free kick, right?
Banger.
And it's kind of like towards like the corner. It's more like you will expect a cross, but he saw that the goalkeeper was gonna off his line, so he just decided to go for it, and he scored. And then after that, it goes 2-2, or Uruguay in the second half they are able to score two goals very quickly. Then Colombia ties it, and then and immediately after Colombia ties the game, the kickoff, you go boom, like a long ball. There's just pure like Uruguay football, just chaos. Everyone is running around the place. And Ugarte, the Man United signing, just comes in inside the box, just shoots it and puts it in the bottom of the net. And it was good. It was good to see Uruguay doing this, especially because they have been on a negative roll for Uruguay because they haven't tied a bunch of games. They had not scored a goal in a bunch of games either.
Hmm.
So for Bielsa, for this team, it was really important to get this win, and also to a team that eliminated them from the Copa America, which is a little bit of payback.
Yeah, definitely. Darwin didn't score, but I liked how he looked today. He looked a lot better than he has previously for Uruguay, and I hope we can see that version of Darwin more for this Uruguay team. But I mean, looking at this table, like it's insane. I mean, you have eighth place with 12, and then you have fourth place with 17. Like it's only a 5 point difference, and I mean, CONMEBOL magic truly because it's always so close. Every match day, like the table is so tight and very interesting. But I mean, outside of this Uruguay Colombia game, Vicente, obviously your boys, the Vino Tinto took on Brazil. And how do you feel about this result? Are you happy with this 1-1 against Brazil, even though this Brazil side hasn't been the Brazil that we've known? What do you think about this result for Venezuela at home?
So here's the thing. It's it's hard for me not to say that I'm happy with the result because I am. You
Yeah,
know, it's Brazil. You know, we tied at Brazil, which was really big, especially with the goal we scored. There was a bicycle kick, and everyone just went mad. And then now you play Brazil in your country and you tie again. Especially, you know, you already drew against Argentina as well, so those results are good. But then when you look at the table, you're not satisfied because you are in seventh place,
yeah.
which is for the wildcard game. And a few match days ago, you were almost third. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So in a few games, because Venezuela, there's something about Venezuela and this Venezuelan team is that we don't win games. We either lose or we draw, but we can't win. Like we just can't score goals and maintain the lead. Like we can only score goals to tie games, and it's really frustrating because our team, like there's no midfield. Like we either attack or we defend. Games are always crazy that we're running all over the place, and it's a little bit frustrating. Like you said, you know the table is going crazy, and I think that at this point in match day number 11, heading into match day number 12, the table is already divided into those specific sets where you have Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, and Brazil already qualified pretty much. You know those four teams. You know, no matter what happens, they will go to the World Cup. But then Ecuador and Paraguay are kind of in that situation where if they win a couple more games, they will qualify as well. And then Bolivia is there with Venezuela fighting for the seventh spot. And at this point, it's not only about the points that you make by wins or draws, but also the points that other teams make, and you're always hoping that they lose. So the race is pretty heated, and I think against Brazil, we played a decent game, but you know, it's hard to say this, but I don't care about Brazil. Like
yeah,
our main focus has to be those Chile, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, because those are the teams that you have to get points from.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. That's a
Yeah,
fair
and
way to look at
you
it.
you play Chile next, and then Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and your last match is against Uruguay.
Hmm.
But I mean, playing Bolivia in second to last match week is gonna be very intense. I would say in the table.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine heading into those last few games with the possibility of actually qualifying. Like for the Venezuela side that has never been to the World Cup, like just imagine how that would be. And if we go to the wildcard game, I can't even imagine how that is, because it's almost like you know when it's gonna happen, and then the waiting must be so long. And once you get there, the game, I can't even think about it, man. Like I hope that we can qualify somehow directly, but if we don't, it's understandable. But looking at the table and talking about the team that I'm currently wearing a jersey from, thank you to my boy Rodrigo. He gave it to me for my birthday last week. Shout out to him.
Shout out
But
Rodrigo, man.
yeah, um, surprising result at Paraguay. We had a strong Argentina side that arrived after beating Bolivia like 6-0 with a Messi hat trick,
Yeah,
a party at Buenos Aires. 11 minutes in, Lautaro scores a goal. It's ruled offsides. Then BR comes in and says, "No, it's okay. It's a goal." And then after that, Paraguay just takes over the game and wins it 2-1.
yeah.
And like I said, they're in the good spot right now in the table. They're sixth. They're qualifying with 16 points. But what do you guys think about that match?
Yeah, that first goal was crazy. I did see that first goal from Paraguay to tie it, and then they got that goal early in the second half to take the lead, and then from then they structured well, and they managed to get the result. And yeah, I mean for Argentina, obviously not the end of the world. They're still pretty comfortable in first place, not crazy comfortable, but they're in a solid position. I'm sure that they're not too worried. They're upset, but I'm sure that they're not too worried. I mean, you saw Messi at the end there, not happy with the refs and all of that, which was interesting to see. Um, but yeah, I mean this Paraguay team, man, they're looking much better than they were at the start of this CONMEBOL qualifier. But they do go to Bolivia next, and we know about Bolivia, man. They're gonna send you to 4,000 above sea level, so you're gonna have to figure that one out. Because if Argentina couldn't win there, and I don't know what to expect from this Paraguay team in Bolivia.
Yeah, and if you're Paraguay, you're obviously just absolutely ecstatic over this result. You
Yeah.
beat the first place in the table because upcoming you got Bolivia, after that Chile, and then Paraguay's last three matches are Colombia, Uruguay, and Brazil. So they are absolutely ecstatic for taking those 3 points, especially in that mid-table position that they are, where they don't know if they're going to qualify, if or at least it's not set. So they absolutely did need that result, and Argentina is still, like you guys said, not really bothered. But on the other side, it completely changes the table, especially influencing those last couple spots.
Yeah, and I have to say, talking about Paraguay, um, the way a manager can change everything, like Gustavo Alfaro coming off Costa Rica where he had like a not the best time. It was kind of messy, and then just gets to Paraguay and changes the whole thing around. I mean, the team is flying. They have a good structure. They are able to win games when they're down, and they're able to close games when they're up. Like it's just shows you how a good manager can turn things around at the highest level, and it's something that everyone should look at and kind of you know point in that direction because Paraguay is doing great things. But we also had you know I don't know if I can call it an important game, but because of how both teams stand, but we have the U.S. men's national team again with Pochettino kind of getting a role into this team and trying to figure out how what they can do and who's playing against Jamaica.
Yeah.
How do you watch the game, Jordy? What do you think of it?
Yeah, they had a penalty. Jamaica had a penalty, which they actually missed. I think it was Gray that missed the penalty, and then the U.S. took the lead in the second half. Jamaica got the red card, and they only won 1-0, which was pretty surprising. But Jamaica's not an easy team. Jamaica is no easy task, especially away. I will say that that's a hard match on paper. But I mean, yeah, they took care of business regardless. At the end of the day, and I think they'll win at home. But these games are, I think Poch should use them to try, different players, like from Europe, from wherever, maybe a couple of young guys from MLS, and just see what kind of options he's working with for 2026. Especially because Nations League is an important competition, but it's not as important as last year's edition because last year's edition we had the Copa America spots. And now we technically do have the Copa Oro spots, but USA should be fine regardless. So I think that Posh should use this opportunity to evaluate different players and just kind of look at his options.
Yeah, I mean, and this U.S. team, Butch has got a good batch. That's something that was a big topic of conversation when we were thinking about the next U.S. coach. This is a coach that should be experienced because he comes with a good batch of players. Ricardo Pepi playing in PSV, Pulisic, Milan Musa, Milan McKennie, Juventus, and the list goes on and on
Yeah.
with European players. And honestly, I think it's a bit of an underwhelming result. I feel like I would expect a little more from the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. But at the same time, Poche really is trying to figure out exactly what kind of play style he wants to play and what kind of players fit that play style and are efficient and benefit the team overall. So I mean it's definitely gonna be something to keep an eye on because it's on the other side of the Nations League, one of the quarterfinals. So and obviously they're a team that we've joked about it in the past how well, I've joked about it in the past how I say how we shouldn't really take them as seriously as they take themselves, but I think that they at least have potential to do something, especially considering that they have Pochettino as that coach, and it just kind of comes down to how much he's willing to actually work for the US, I would say.
Yeah, I think what I like the most currently, obviously, Pulisic is killing it at AC Milan. We couldn't dive into that AC Milan Real Madrid match the past weeks because we weren't recording, but he has been pretty much one of the best players in the world. Like seriously, he has been killing it. He's been playing at his best, and it's time for him not only to put that into the U.S. level, but how can Pochettino incorporate what he's doing at AC Milan and make a team, form a team around Pulisic so that players can feed him and he can be at the same level, you know?
Yeah, I think if Pochettino can make that work and figure it out, I think USA fans would be absolutely ecstatic to see their Captain America scoring the goals.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who's not static is Houston fans because as we head into our final segment with Jordy back there, I see the Houston Dynamo flag. Can you talk us
Oh man.
through what happened in that Seattle Sounders, round one of MLS playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, after that first, we did record an episode, and we said we're not mad at that. We were mad at that. We were like, yeah, I mean, listen, we went to a tough place like Lumen Field, Seattle, a place where the Dynamo historically has never had any success, and we were able to take it all the way to pens with a red card, and the exact same thing happened in that second game, a red card that cost him the game, but this time from our captain Hector Herrera. I mean, poor. Listen, you can't spit on the ref. There's cameras everywhere. There's a VAR. I don't know what he's thinking, and shortly after that, we saw him get let go by the Houston Dynamo, which was crazy. But I mean, you're paying 6 million a year for someone who has not looked their best, who has had injury issues, who apparently off the field was having behavior issues as well. I don't know too much details about that, but apparently, yeah, obviously, off the field, he's also having some behavior issues. And yeah, it ultimately led to the Dynamo making that decision. So now they'll be looking for a DP during the off season to see who they can get. But Guillermo, I mean, talk to me a little bit about Hector Herrera. As a Mexican, like, what do you think about this fall off from him?
I was absolutely in disbelief, man. I mean, Hector Herrera, like to me, like growing up, was always like this cool-headed midfielder, like just very professional. This guy was the captain in Porto for so many years. Like this isn't just some random Mexican player that went around Europe. No, this is Hector Herrera. Like this guy would have been the captain of the Mexico team if Andres Guardado wasn't around, and that's because that he's just a phenomenal captain. But that's a different conversation. But Hector Herrera, man, I mean, you're sliding and you get that yellow, like you're not you don't get mad, man. Like you have been in situations where you have there's probably been worse calls and it's probably been even like less in your favor, but yet he loses his head completely. He walks past the keeper. I mean, the ref just spins his head and spits where like his path or whatever. And like, yeah, he didn't spit in his face, but you just don't do that. Like, you are a professional footballer. It was just completely out of character. And I know all of the Mexican fans were absolutely bewildered. Like, we never expected it from somebody like him whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was in the press box and a lot of people didn't even know that happened. Like it was like that.
I
We
didn't know
thought that
either.
there was some kind of like conversation. Yeah, we thought it was kind of like an argument with the ref, and they just went
Yeah,
to the red card.
yeah. I thought
But
he
then
said
when
something.
he the ref yeah, when the ref went over to the VAR, I know something was up. And you got to keep in mind also that this happened when the game was still 0-0. Like he lost his mind when Houston has still a chance to, score a goal and go head into Seattle for, the third game. So the fact that he did that in the 75th minute with the game is 0-0 obviously changed everything like Jordy said, but just I don't know, it just tells you a lot about the where he's at mentally and don't take me wrong. I don't think this Houston decided to let him go because of that. We heard from Pat Onstead already, saying that it wasn't really because of that. It was from some of the issues
Yeah,
of him, not playing so much for his injuries. I think this is a big reason, but it's not the main reason. Like I think the injuries just take a toll, and you need if you're gonna pay so much money in a league like the MLS where you have all these roster issues and caps and everything, like you must put your money into the right person, especially because you have people on the top. who may not know a lot about soccer, but they have the money, and they're demanding things that, hey, like we need someone who is just not gonna be like selling jerseys, but we need someone who actually can bring profit on the
Yeah.
pitch.
Well, now we got a open DP spot. So I mean, is there any names, realistic or not, that you would like, even think about? Like, would we need more like a midfielder? Because we already got Miguel Ponce, so I don't think they would look for another striker like that.
Yeah.
So would we see like another DP midfielder coming on?
I think here's the thing: we got Ponce and Sebas. I still feel like the Dynamo will go for a striker because everyone is dissatisfied with the striker options that we have. Like
Yeah.
it almost feels like the coach doesn't like this options that he had because, or he's obviously gonna back them up in the media, but when you look at the games, they're not putting the ball inside the net. So that's you need to find a striker that can score goals. Um, but obviously, we heard that I think Coco can play as Hector Herrera. He can be that midfielder that takes care of, movement of the ball. But I feel like it's now time to focus on another, midfielder that can help you connect between your midfield, your fullbacks, and your wingers.
Yeah, definitely a midfielder. I mean, I could even see us getting a winger, to be honest. I mean, because when we come back, we'll have Quinones. Hopefully, we'll have Ponce or Sebas at the 9, and then we have to look for another winger because Aliu, I'm not too interested. Blessing is it won't be coming back to the Dynamo, so we lost him as well. So we maybe look at a winger. Maybe I know that they're evaluating Albert Ellis' situation right now. He had that skull injury a couple years back, and he was still recovering, similar to like Raul Jimenez injury, very very similar, a head collision, and fortunately, like I don't know if he fractured his skull or something, it was something similar. So they're evaluating him, but if not him, I don't know. I've always been a fan of Diego Lainez's game, and I feel like you have a bunch of Mexicans here in Houston. You have that crowd. You can if you we saw with Hector Herrera and when he first came to the Dynamo that first year, how many people wanted to go see him. So maybe like a Diego Lainez, Albert Ellis, if he's 100%, obviously I wouldn't mind seeing him back in the Dynamo at all. But yeah, we have to evaluate Ellis and see if he's really fit because coming back from an injury like that, it takes a long time. Because we saw how long it took Raul Jimenez to be back to 100%. It took him years.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
feel like
I yeah, go ahead, Guillermo.
I feel like it would be like a pretty decent idea to like, cause for some reason Ben likes to play Coco as a right winger most of the time. So I feel like it would be a pretty decent idea to bring down Coco in that Hector spot. It's just and then get a winger slash like creative kind of like a Linus, like a creative, cutting kind of player. Because we don't need another fast outside winger. Like we don't need something like that. But I feel like it just has to come down to if Coco can fill Hector's shoes, which I more so think he can than can't.
Yeah, and talking about, sometimes people talk about the investments that didn't work or that did not bring you what you wanted. But you also got to look at players like Mikael, like Arthur, like who have been so good on the pitch and who game after game they just show great level, and those things gotta be considered as well. Like, you gotta bring those on the table and show support for the people who made the decision to have them there. Because Arthur, in my consideration, is easily top three, top five midfielders in the MLS. And I'm not even kidding. Like the guy is able to control the pitch. He does what he wants with the ball, and he just sets the pace of the game. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, but unfortunate the Dynamo fall to Seattle. The 2-0 in terms of game series because it's not aggregate scores over here.
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunate result. We wished for more, but another unfortunate result, which we thought was gonna be a lot more, is Inter Miami and Atlanta United. Inter Miami take the first game, and that was simply it. Or
Yeah.
no, Atlanta take the first game, and then Inter takes the second game, and Atlanta takes the third game. But I mean, a series that we thought was already written ended up being a game changer. So Goodbye Messi and company. No more MLS Cup for you.
Yeah, that's. I wonder how that's gonna go because I think after the games on Tuesday, they don't play any more qualifiers until 2025. So he's gonna have a long time without soccer. Like it's going to be really strange. I read something about a couple friendlies, like them playing a Brazilian team in Brazil for something, but it's gonna be weird to not see Messi for a while, and it's gonna definitely take a toll on his current form.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, unfortunate result for Messi. Won't see him for a while, but I mean, CR7 fans are over the moon right now, especially after that brace he scored today against Poland. So they've been talking on social media, but yeah, we hope the goat comes back 100% healthy next season, because I would like to see Inter Miami go further and see Messi in a situation where like it's like a final, a semifinal, a much more intense game. Not saying that the game against Atlanta wasn't intense, obviously, because it's an elimination game. It's win or go home. But maybe like a final, a conference final at least. I would love to see that next year.
Yeah, where we saw how fun it was in the very first Leagues Cup, when he came in that game against Cruz Azul and then everything that happened later on. Even in the US Open Cup that Houston Dynamo won, he couldn't play the final, but the road towards the final was pretty fun, especially the games against Cincinnati where they were losing and they came back. But I have to ask a question and I want easy, fast answers. We are today is November 15, 2024. In 2026, where is Messi going to play?
Like in terms of club, I'm assuming that you're asking.
Yeah, of course.
2026. I think he'll still be at Miami, to be completely honest. I don't know if I see him moving back to Argentina. Like, maybe he wants to retire at Newell's or whatever the case may be, his boyhood club. But I don't think so. I think he's very comfortable in Miami. I know that whenever he was in PSG, like his family hated it and everything. And in Miami, he's very comfortable. There's a lot of Argentinians. His kids go to school there, and they live a good life, man. Like I really don't see him moving from Miami anytime soon.
Yeah, I think so as well because of the same reason. I just feel like, he did such a big move to Miami, and he's probably settled in already. He might even just, pack it up and just retire there and just stick it out in Miami. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just decides to go back to Argentina. But I still in 2 years, yeah, I think he'll be in Miami.
I'll tell you something. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that he wants to play the 2026 World Cup, and he knows that obviously he knows that he doesn't need to win it like the 2024 or 2022. I'm sorry. Like 2022 was a must-win scenario because of everything that was happening with the team, how good they were doing.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that heading into 2026, because he's so competitive, he's gonna make a decision, and I'm just gonna say we may see him in that jersey that Guillermo has behind him. All I'm gonna say is that
You're gonna say, I don't know if
just
you were gonna say it.
I don't know, man, because
I think that's a big ask, bro. I
dude,
think we gotta let it go, man.
yeah, over who,
dude,
Vicente? Like over who? Like in that current
no,
lineup?
just imagine New Camp Nou, 100K fans every game, just shouting his name, winning, La Decima. Just imagine, or not La Decima, that's impossible. But that's like, I don't know, maybe the six or seven, or you know, something like that. I feel like it could happen. It could happen.
I mean, that would be a straight movie. I don't that I would be lost for words if something like that would happen. I'm not gonna lie.
But realistically speaking, like if he wants to be not fit, because fit you can get fit anywhere. You can just train like your physique and stamina anywhere. But if you want to be like soccer fit, and you want to arrive at the right level, Barca wouldn't be a bad option or any European team that offers because that's exactly what he did at PSG before the 2022 World Cup. He was resting games that were necessary, and then he will come in the big games and he will perform, and you could see that he was at the right level because he was playing. Imagine that Messi the whole Barca situation happens and he goes to Miami. You think Argentina would have won that World Cup if Messi would have gone from Barcelona to Miami and played like a couple years at MLS heading into 2022 World Cup? I don't know. I don't know if they would have won it. So maybe
I
he's just
mean,
saying like, hey, my last chance to maybe win two World Cups. Let me go to Barcelona or like a team in Europe and do my thing.
I wouldn't say you're wrong, but I just don't think he's gonna do it. But hey, I feel like maybe like 1 year, do like a 1 year contract, like how you said, like only play like some games, like be rested, like his family stays in Miami, but he goes like 1 year or something to Barca. Like maybe I could see it happen, maybe, but I don't know. I think we gotta call it a pipe dream for sure.
Okay, I'll call it. I'll call it. I'll end the messy conversation there. I'll say you don't even have to do a year. Technically you can do 6 months because you can arrive in the winter, window or
True.
whatever, and then go into summer for the World Cup. But do you guys want to call it a day and go into and guess a footballer? Do you guys have any other ideas that you want to share with the public?
Liga MX. We got the play-ins coming up this
Oh,
week. Guillermo, talk to us a little bit about that. Your predictions. What do you think? Like, it's an exciting time. Liga. We all love Liga, the most competitive league in North America. Talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, so the Liguilla starts next week on Thursday. The 21st is when the play-ins are played. So it's Chivas Atlas. They play first, and then Tijuana America play that same day, a little bit later. And like I said earlier in another episode, the way it works is Atlas and Chivas, which is 10 and 9th, they play. And then obviously America and Tijuana, 7th and 8th, they play. So whoever wins between 7th and 8th makes it into basically like winners brackets of the play-ins. And then whoever wins from Atlas Chivas has to play the loser from Tijuana America, which then would have to play the winner.
Interesting.
And then that is how they qualify for the Liguilla. And it's an exciting time, man. Liguilla is always an exciting time. I said in the previous episode how table positioning matters tremendously. And unfortunately, my Rayados ended up in fifth, and we could have gotten a good result, but we ended up tying that game and ended up in fifth. For my predictions for the play-in, I'm gonna go for I'm gonna say that Chivas is gonna take it over Atlas, and I'm gonna say that America is gonna take it over Tijuana for my predictions for the play-ins.
That's fair.
yeah, I think those two picks are make sense. They're fair. And I have to say, looking at the table, it's crazy that about the fact that Cruz Azul is heading into Liguilla with only one game lost. Like that's just
Yep.
you know you don't want to. It's almost like when Argentina lost that game against Saudi Arabia. You don't want that to happen because if it happens now, you're pretty much out. But imagine if it does. Like it will be so sad for them because they have been so good throughout the year.
Yeah, and I said it in another episode. I'm pretty sure that Cruz Azul has simply been playing the best football tournaments, and I think that they're going to be able to show that in La Liguilla as well. It really has been. They have been dominating this season for sure. And I would say they're the favorites, but beautiful thing about Liga MX is absolutely anything can happen.
Yeah. I have a question. So for play-ins, is it still table? Like, let's say Chivas and Atlas are tied at the end. Whoever's whoever's higher out of those two, will they go through, or will they need to play like extra time and then penalties, or does the table not apply for play-ins?
The table, it's just one game.
Yeah.
I want to say that it just goes to penalties.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but that will be wrapping it up for the Liga MX, and we will be transitioning to the last segment that we all absolutely love, and we test our ball knowledge in, and so do the viewers do too. And
Yeah,
guess the
let us know in the
footballer.
comments. Let us know in the comments if you guys have how you guys have done in the previous episodes. This one is a little hard. It's a little hard, but the players are very famous. So I feel like I'm probably gonna give you hints, but let's get straight to it. So the first footballer that this player has played with is Paquetá, the
Hmm.
Brazilian midfielder.
Okay.
Okay. Paquetá.
So I feel like you're gonna give me like a West Ham player.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be something like mm, what's like an I don't know, a West Ham player.
Imagine it's your boy Edson.
Nah, he wouldn't do that.
You don't think he would? Oh no.
Yeah, I don't think he would do
Nah.
that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'll say I'll say Fabianski.
Is not Fabianski, but great guess. I mean, you wanted to say within the club limits, and I understand why. The second footballer that this player has played with, Paul Pogba, a name that's been about in the mouth of many
Paul
football fans
Pogba.
recently because he recently resigned his contract with Juve, which means that he can officially sign with any club whenever he wants. And I'm curious to see where he goes, how he performs. Like you know, like we said, like Guillermo said, the World Cup is right around the corner, so maybe he gets a call if he performs well. Maybe we'll see.
Pogba.
I mean, Pog Boom is Pog Boom. Those of you who know simply know.
The goat man.
Do you have a guess, Jordy? Because I kind of do.
Nah, go ahead. If you got some, then cook it up. Cook it up, bro. I'll let you take over.
I'm gonna say, mm, I'm gonna say Arthur, Brazilian.
Brazilian Arthur is not Brazilian Arthur, but okay, I see. He did went to Juve, so I see the connection. That's two players, two down. The third footballer that this player has played with is Sergio Ramos, another player that
Okay.
Ramos.
is ready to sign with a club. Doesn't have a club yet. There were rumors about him going
Madrid.
to Boca, but I feel like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and
They,
Real Madrid
yeah.
because
They
of the
need
Militao
they need
injury.
an emergency signing. So.
Yeah, and he also posted that video of him like running like a crazy man in the middle of like the woods right after the injury. Like I don't know if you guys saw that, but the timing was perfect. Like literally, Militao got injured, and as soon as he got injured, he posted that video of him like training like a psycho.
I mean, he's definitely a player that it doesn't matter where he is. He will always have aura for sure.
Yeah. Any footballers on your mind?
I'm
Pogba,
thinking that.
Ramos, Paquetá.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
I'm thinking of maybe
I'll,
like
because this is
Spanish.
a hard one. I'll tell you that it's one of the nationalities of the players that I have already mentioned. So either Brazil, France, or Spain.
Okay.
So you get
I
that hint.
Jordy, do you know if Danilo played at Madrid? I want to say he
Yes, he
did,
did. Yes, he did. Danilo did in fact play at Madrid.
because Brazilian and then played at
Yeah.
Juve
Yeah, Danilo was at Madrid. He was.
and then Ramos. I mean,
Let's do it.
I don't got another guess honestly.
Lock it in.
Is that your guess, Danilo?
Okay.
That is a great guess, but it's not Danilo.
Oh
It's a
my God.
really good guess, though.
I
It
see.
is a
Yeah,
really
no,
good
I
guess,
see.
though. I'll
That's a
give you
good
that.
guess. That's a good guess.
It could, yeah, it could have been Danilo because I think he played with Ramos, so it was a good guess. The next player is a current Boca Juniors player, is Edison Cavani.
Hmm.
Edison Cavani.
That's the fourth player. Only two
United,
guesses left. Let
Napoli,
us.
Boca now. Hmm.
PSG.
PSG.
PSG had some crazy strikers back in the day, like with Ibra and Cavani.
Yeah.
Oh
Very fun
yeah.
times.
So we have Cavani, Pogba, Ramos, Paquetá.
Let us know in the
Hmm.
comments if you know who it
Look at
is.
that Cavani.
Um,
Pogba,
Ramos.
Ramos.
Oh, Pogba throw me off now.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe he's French though.
Could be French.
Maybe
Could be French.
But it's just
French that played with, Cavani at PSG, maybe.
hmm. I think I have a guess. Oh, dude. I'm just using up all these guesses. Do you have a guess, Jordy?
Well, tell me who it is, and then I'll tell you if he played with.
'Cause I'm thinking. Hopefully, I'm not butchering his name. Areola, the goalkeeper, because he played at PSG,
Ooh. He was at
right?
Madrid, I believe. No,
Was
was he
that
at Madrid?
West Ham?
No,
No.
he wasn't at Madrid. I'm tripping. But
Or
Ramos, well,
actually,
how do
I
you?
think he was. I'm not even gonna lie to
I
you.
think I'm not
But
tripping here, but
you're not tripping about that. Like 20 FIFA 18, I think I had
I don't think
a
I'm.
Madrid card. Um, because I'm just thinking like Lucas Paqueta West
Yeah,
Ham,
West Ham.
and that because I was saying like PSG, for Ramos, but I think he did play in Madrid, and then Cavani, because PSG, because he played in PSG, right? I'm not
Oh,
like just making that up.
I'm not too sure about that, but Cavani, you have PSG, you have United, you have Napoli.
Hmm.
It's not a bad guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad guess at all. Are you guys going with that pick?
I'm
Do we have
down.
one more guess after this?
We do, because that's only four.
Yeah, you have one more player and the final player
Okay.
if you
Then
if you miss.
yeah, I guess we can lock this one in. Areola, goalkeeper.
Well, before I say whether you guys are right or wrong, I'll say that the last player was Rafael Varane, and therefore you're right. It is Ariola.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
So can you tell
So
me how did
the
Ariola and Ramos link? Was it the Madrid or was it PSG?
yeah, it was
I knew I
Madrid,
wasn't tripping.
and so basically
Yeah.
Paqueta is West Ham, Pogba is French national team, Ramos is Real Madrid, Varane is Real Madrid and French national team,
Hmm.
and Cavani is PSG.
Yeah. Guillermo.
Yeah.
Guillermo cooked today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put me on his back today.
Yeah.
Completely took over.
Early
I-
early in the game, you mentioned West Ham, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not as hard as I thought it was gonna be,
And
because
I went
I felt
Fansky,
like
bro. I went the other keeper. That's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, you guys went like directly into West Ham. I was like, okay, maybe this is just gonna take like 2 minutes and we're out.
Yeah. I
That's
thought
funny.
this was a hard one though. I mean, the
Well,
Ariola. It's crazy.
yeah, thank you guys for watching. We were off for a little 2 weeks, but we're gonna try to head in right into next week with more, international football, Liga, MLS playoffs, and much more.
Yep.
Follow us and Hay Arquero in all socials. We'll be just reading you, trying to create more content and just have our name in there. Just looking at your information. And if you want to know a little bit more of us, you can follow us in our personal socials, Vicente.Gardo-M on Instagram, BGM091102 on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at JordyRace9, Twitter, JordyRace34. Still trying to get rid of the numbers.
And then I am Foot with GLR on all platforms, just talking about football.
Yep.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys listening in. We'll catch you guys next week. That's been it. Peace.
Peace.